city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is September 5th, YC126, and this is the Evener Show! No. Hey, guys, welcome back. Oh, man. It has been a summer, but we are back, and we have a lot to talk about today. We have quite a bit of news, some mysteries, some lore. Not a lot of answers, but a whole bunch of questions, and we have some market analysis. We've got all kinds of stuff to go over. I joined the game again using your link. Excellent, that's cool. Thank you very much, Stoic. Yeah, anybody who uses my buddy code link down below, that actually gets sent to one of like we have a whole bunch of people on a list that are the people that help support the show and the Convocation of Empyreans and, you know, whatever. And so when you use that, it sends you to one of them or one of the people on the list, and it supports everybody who supports what we do here. Must find secret structure. They will go away. Yeah, so what is currently going on with the Deep Flow Rifts is a live event. So in theory, it will stop happening. Actually, now that we've said that, I'm going to go check the patch notes real quick. For some reason, I had everything else pulled up and not that. Sweet. Is it? Homefront operations, PV. Aha. Okay, so here we go. I guess we could just jump into this as a first topic. We've got a bunch of different topics. I have a pseudo order to some of it, but we do just have a lot of things to cover today. I was going to try to organize a lot of stuff yesterday for today, but then my son decided to refuse to go to school on the second day of school. So he got grounded, and there's a whole thing. We're better today, but still trying to pull everything together. And also, this is absolutely a developing situation. So new things came out just today. More Deathless with a little variation or variety. It's interesting. It's definitely got some questions. Okay, so on the 27th of August, we received a patch that did two significant things. One, it updated the Abyssal Artifact Recovery site, which was the hardest of the original Homefront sites. And secondly, it introduced a new site known as a Deep Flow Rift site. Now, there is... Really? You know, it doesn't matter how much I think I've prepped for stuff. I don't. All right, so in this one it says, beginning on the 27th of August, Intrepid Capsuleers can seek out these new rifts and engage in new and exciting activities. The limited time Deep Flow Rift sites promise significant rewards. Only be accessible in a certain time window. Does anybody know when it's supposed to be over? Does it say? It's interesting that they don't say. I wonder if that means that it's over when we are done with it. They never said. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we're gonna look at these things. Okay, so beginning on 27th of August, we see the deep flow rift sites begin to appear. Now, this is part of a bigger thing that's been going on. That includes the Capsuleer Day event, where we had the Doctor Who style sites that were available. Basically, we'll look at it closer when we look at the New Eden news of it. But the lore of it is that secretly, while all of these other things have been going on, right, in Pochfin and in within the empires and with the Deathless and with all of this stuff, meanwhile, deep into the abyss, there's been what appears to be a significant invasion by the Drifter forces in areas of the abyss that are otherwise inaccessible to us. And this incursion of the Drifters into the abyss has started a conflict that has caused the actual abyss itself to become destabilized. Like they're using weapon systems or technology that has a result of effectively ripping apart the little stability that exists in abyssal dead space, or in the deepest pieces of abyssal dead space. Now, so let me see if I can find it right here. Real quick, scroll down. Drifter attacks. Triglavian Collective revealed. So, what we can see here is the topology of space-time. So what you can see here is there is this flat plane at the top is effectively three-dimensional space-time, okay? And then if you go below the surface of space-time, then you get into subspace. Now, subspace doesn't interact with the Higgs field, and there's a bunch of other considerations with it. And therefore, by going into shallow subspace, that's how we warp. And by going into slightly deeper subspace, that's how we jump between systems through tunnels in subspace. So the abyss itself is actually a layer that's deep in subspace. Now, you have known space, which is, again, above the surface of the water, as it were. As you go deeper into subspace, it stops being, the less physical things are, and the more raw energy things are, to the point where deep subspace is nothing but pure unorganized energy. And that energy is the energy that we pull out of deep subspace in order to power our ships through the peg, right? Yeah. Well, Lorelei, I believe that CCP has effectively said that the peg is a defunct tech more than a modern tech. But either way, the concept of abyssal dead space is consistent with his description of subspace. That's why I used it as a jumping off point. So the point is that below the surface of known space, there is subspace. And deep into subspace, where most of our stuff, hey, Stoic, thank you for that, where most of our ships just don't even go, where like our ship warping and stuff like that doesn't go, there are these strange pockets of stability that seem to be constructed in otherwise incredibly violent gravitonic storms of energy in subspace, right? And these pockets of stability are the abyss pockets that we go through that are connected through conduit link constructs, or that they call conduit link constructs, that are connected by the conduits, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so subspace, and specifically deep abyssal subspace, is where the Triglavians were what appears to be imprisoned since roughly the Second Jovian Empire. Okay, so the idea is that as part of this whole Triglavian invasion thing, entities such as the rogue drones and the drifters, and then later on us, and possibly, well, at some point Sancha and the angels and whatever, managed to find passage into subspace, or into these abyssal pockets. And likewise, these Triglavians managed to find a way to escape those abyssal pockets, which is what led to the Abyss and invasions and stuff. Yeah, well, angels are now in the Abyss. You can find Sancha and angels in the Abyss along with Eden Calm. They were added when they put in Tier 0 and Tier 6 Abyss. But originally, it was Rogue Drones, Drifters, Sancha, and then us. I mean, I'm not going to get into a giant argument or discussion about the way that the physics of New Eden works at the moment, Lorelite. It is an interesting discussion. I think that overall, Max Singularity's position was cited as basically an in-game explanation of the physics and not an absolute definition of the physics. Sancha isn't such a bad guy. He just doesn't know making cyborgs is bad. Look, okay. I'll get real. The actual pro-Sancha argument is simple. Every society has hierarchies. The discord in any given society comes from the unsettling of that hierarchy. Therefore, in a society in which that hierarchy is both arbitrarily applied and enforced through implants, they can have citizens and they can have slaves and they can have a utopian society because everyone not only has a place, but is conditioned to accept their place. That is the Sancha argument. Anywho. Okay, so the point is that this additional conflict between the Drifters and the Triglavians, which again, the Drifters have been referred to by the Triglavians as the ancient enemy Azdaja, or ancient enemy dragon. This conflict has led to these pockets being ripped apart. And so we started to see the abyssal battlefields appear, which were the remains, basically, effectively, abyssal pockets got ripped apart and dumped its contents into known space, which we then were able to get resonance in order to build filaments to be able to return to those abyssal pockets and do stuff there. That was the entire Capsuleer Day event. So what this event with the deep flow rifts shows is that that conflict has not ceased. And these deep flow rifts are a new manifestation of those conflicts, okay? So that is why when you extract things from the deep flow rifts, you're extracting a combination of blue loot and red loot, because the stuff that you're getting is basically a mixture of all of the stuff that was left behind in the wake of one of these giant fights between the Drifters and the Triglavians, okay? So that explains the loot, or at least some of the loot. And that's going to be important as we go into this. So let's start this by going over, we've got a couple of New Eden news, not start, but, you know, let's go next into, there's a couple of New Eden news that we want to go into that is related to this event, okay? There's some other stuff to talk about in those New Eden news, and we'll probably have a side chat about that when we get there, but these are also important to what's going on. All right. Actually, now that I think about it, give me a second. I just realized I want to go back a little ways. Again, every time I think I'm ready, I'm not. I even closed my main page because I was like, oh yeah, I've already gotten all the tabs I need out of this. It's fine. Either way. Okay, so Concord, where are they? When do you need them? I hear that Concord's getting shut down in 6 days. Timerian wanted me to make that as the video's title. You know, Concord to be shut down. I was like, I think that that's a level of clickbait that people will not accept. Wrong Concord. Well, yes, exactly. All right, so April? Yeah, April 19th, YC126, we see the mysterious ship construction. So this is the, as we're leading towards equinox, we still don't know what Upwell is up to. This is when we first start to see pictures of the Upwell haulers. But it says SOCT suspends new observation program as anomalous readings suggest technical problems. We can actually go a little bit further back from this, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to keep digging. There's a lot of other news in here, but basically, the SOCT began a project to attempt surveying the abyssal space to monitor things, right? And so then on the 19th of April, they said that they were suspending that because they got some very weird readings, right? Which leads to this news post on the 24th, which says, the SOCT has confirmed that massive energy spikes detected in abyssal dead space are evidence of an escalated Triglavian drifter conflict. Observations of abyssal conduits have revealed extreme levels of both entropic energy of Triglavian disintegrators and signatures unique to the drifter weaponry. Though anomalous when first detected, the readings were the highest ever recorded in abyssal dead space. The SOCT's astronomical observation program was temporarily suspended for scientific review as a result. No faults were found in the program's sensors, and the results have now been verified by both the University of Cali and Hedion University. Yes, YC126 is 2024, correct. So, originally, they thought that this was it was so weird that they thought it probably was an error in their equipment. But then they checked and they said, okay, it isn't an error in our equipment. And about that time, we start to see the abyssal war zones appear. According to these results, the quantity of energy being released are significant enough to cause the collapse of the conduits in which they are detected. Once collapsed, there's a risk of the conduits appearing in known space. Ime Sever of SOCT CEO has called this danger extremely concerning, warning that unless immediate action is taken, the war between these two powerful forces is likely to spill over into New Eden. In order to better understand and contain the threat, the SOCT are preparing plans to sponsor capsuleer expeditions into the collapsed conduits, blah, blah, blah. We did that. Provost Marshal Kosh Valkanir issued a statement ahead of EdenCom's deployment addressing prospective capsuleer's participation directly. The exact nature of the conflict between these two forces is still unknown. What is clear is that if left unchecked, their aggression will not remain limited to the abyss for long. All pilots must stand against these threats before the people of New Eden find themselves caught in the crossfire. And around this time, we don't see anything that ends up being too relevant to what we're about to talk about. Okay, so, this shows that, this is where we're coming from. All right. And then on May 3rd, we see, as we're talking about all of the Upwell stuff coming up, if we scroll past all of the main news about it, we see capsuleer-led exploration of collapsed conduits underway. EdenCom teams are yet to report back from abyssal explorations, so on and so forth. So now that leads us to the August 27th. Abyssal energy spikes as deep flow rifts detected. Hidden rifts have begun to appear throughout New Eden as the SOCT reports spiking energy signatures in abyssal dead space. The Society of Conscious Thought has observed massive energy spikes in abyssal dead space. The spikes originated in the deep flow of the abyss, beyond where any of New Eden's explorers had ventured. The energy signatures are similar to those recorded during the escalating Drifter and Triglavian wars some months ago. It was widely believed that Capsuleer intervention had successfully de-escalated their conflict, but it seems to have only caused a brief respite. The deep flow rifts appear to be a result of the destructive energies unleashed in the Drifter-Triglavian War. These rifts are inaccessible to New Eden pilots. This is likely because they lead into the far depths of the abyssal dead space, which are untraversable with conventional technologies. Despite this, activating a significant number of tractor beams on the rift allows a pilot to pull objects through from the other side. These objects provide possible evidence of a long-term Triglavian presence in deep flow regions. The science community is divided as to whether these objects are the remains of past settlements that drifted into the deep flow, or a sign that the Triglavians are capable of surviving in even harsher environments than previously predicted. At the same time, reports are coming in from Galente, Caldari, Amar, and Mimitar scientists that changes have been observed in other rifts. Abyssal artifact recovery operations have recorded shifting patterns, prompting a call for Capsuleers to assist in investigating the changes. When asked to comment on any possible threat posed by the new rifts or the escalating conflict, Concord, Edencom, and the SOCT were all quick to dismiss the possibility. They claim that the conflict is too deep within the abyss to pose a risk to the peoples of New Eden. In addition, sources within Edencom have revealed a controversial let-them-fight policy in hopes that the Drifters and Triglavians will weaken each other, ultimately making the cluster a safer place. News in brief. Imperium forces successfully capture large swaths of territory in Catch, Impasse, Tenerifis, and Amencia. Net Resonator's investigation comes to a conclusion, sources claim. Mimitar Fleet Alliance announces plans to recapture Ugidi Constellation for the Republic. And skirmishes continue in Providence, with CVA and Red Alliance successfully defending their territory. First phase of Garissa-sponsored Alliance Tournament 20 is underway. Matches broadcasted on Galnet. Garissa's reveal AT-20 prize ships are repurposed Concord ships. Concord declines to comment. Pundits respond with enthusiasm at the reveal of first ever battleship prize of the Alliance Tournament. So, yeah. We can't, you can gain Concord ships. You can get normal Concord ships by doing Project Discovery or refer a friend. And you can get the new ones by, am I safe still? Yes. Yeah, the Marshal, the Pacifier, and the Enforcer are all Concord ships. But the new ones, the AT prizes, are going to be modified versions of the Concord ships, where the Concord ships give you bonuses to reps if you have a high security status. The new ones, we'll actually, that's actually we'll take a side topic. Let's jump on a side topic. The Alliance Tournament, 20 feeders and prizes. So we did have the new Alliance Tournament start. The feeders were this previous weekend, and the weekend before that, right? Yeah, it started on the 24th. It's been a lot of fun. There were some pretty good fights this weekend. We are in the Congregation of Empyrean supporting Dutch Gunner, who's flying with Brave Newbies, who did win in their runner-up bracket, and so we'll be making it to the tournament. I'm very excited about that. But we don't have a ton of information about the new ships beyond what I just said, but you can see that there's going to be the Sidewinder, the Cobra, and the Python, and they did specify that these are going to be flipping the scripts on the security status bonus of the original hulls. So probably it's going to be based on, you know, rep bonus is based on lower security status, but who knows? It could be a damage bonus. Who knows? Oh yeah, lower light. Well, hopefully all this means is that we're going to get new news to talk about soon. But so for those of you who do not know, the Alliance Tournament is the largest like organized tournament of EVE for EVE Online. It's put together by CCP. There are special prize ships that cannot be gotten any other way, and it's kind of a really great way to watch some really high level EVE Online with some really, usually some pretty knowledgeable and talented shoutcasters and stuff to help learn about stuff. So, yeah. And I am interested in doing some coverage of some of the Alliance tournament stuff. We'll just have to see how that works out. But either way, that's what that is all about. The other thing... Yeah, next... we will go back. We will go to the latest New Eden news. And we'll cover over the different pieces here. All right. So this is from September 3rd, YC126. Data slices discovered and deathless net resonators connection revealed. Mysterious data slices discovered. Oh, wait, actually, let's take a step back for this one. I want to talk a little bit about these net resonators first. Okay. So let's go back again a little bit and see... Upwell victorious in Federation while restrictions apply in Caldari State. This is from July? January, February, March, April, May, June. June 12th, YC126. So 3 months ago. This is as we're we're still working towards, actually, this is basically at the release of Equinox. So there's been a lot of discussion about how each of the 4 different empires are going to relate with Equinox and Upwell's offerings. This kind of is a culmination of that. But if we scroll past the big news about how everybody's reacting to it, in the news in brief, we can see Edencom reports suspicious redeployment of Triglavian reinforcements in Pochfin. Concord releases intel on updated Sancha tactics as nation grows greater reservations in committing motherships to incursions. That was just based on the fact that they changed how many incursions happen. New net resonators and specialist ship designs under scrutiny by Concord for suspicious origins. Oh, shoot. There's actually... I didn't get it. Hold on. Dang it. I missed it. I missed a news article. Hold on. No, that's not it. Yeah. So, sorry. On the 7th of the same month, while the Empress, when the Empress is talking about their position on Upwell, we get the news. Questions raised by Concord as known associate of the Deathless Circle spotted in SOE station in the EFU system. Okay? From there, we get Edencom, nope. Where is it? New net resonators and specialist ship designs under scrutiny by Concord for suspicious origins. Then, on the 26th, which would have been 14 days later, 2 weeks later, we get SOE under pressure to reveal the source of new net resonators as Concord investigates. So they're continuing to push it, and because the SOE have it, they're doing this investigation, which leads to, of course, the one that we just read, which is from the 27th, which says net resonator investigation comes to close to a conclusion, sources claim. So, so then that brings up 2 days ago. On the 3rd of September, data slices discovered and deathless net resonators connection revealed. Appsleers are reporting the discovery of mysterious data elements called spectral emission slices. These slices appear to contain temporal and spatial data. So far, only the part of the total data set has been recovered. The exact meaning of the formation is still unclear. While many theories have been suggested, none have yet been corroborated. This data is being conveyed in an unfamiliar format that emits trace black body radiation. It is not known who created the data or for what purpose. All that is known is that the slices have been discovered emerging from abyssal rifts impacted by the conflict between the Triglavians and the Drifters. Deep flow rifts and those under investigation by the abyssal artifact recovery operations. The scope reached out to the SOCT scientists for answers, but they declined to comment. It is hoped that as more slices emerge, so will greater insights into their meaning and origins. We'll have more on this story as it unfolds. Net Resonator's Deathless Origins Unmasked. ULI. The CDIA has released the details of an investigation that proves net resonators were developed by the criminal organization, the Deathless Circle. Net resonators emerged as an advanced ship manufacturing component some months ago, replacing the need for Neuralink conduits in subcapitals. Since then, the component has been adopted by groups as diverse as the Sisters of Eve, Grissus Pirates, Sanchez Nation, Blood Raiders, and more. The revolutionary ship manufacturing components make use of quantum consciousness neurolinking technology to provide the same performance as two different Neuralink conduits in the single device. The CDIA has confirmed that this was a backward engineered from Jovian technology. The Deathless Circle has used its access to the Jovian station known as the Fulcrum to develop new advances based on the ancient Jovian technologies. The CDIA also presents evidence of multiple correlations between the introduction of net resonators and visits to organizations from known Deathless Circle agents. Most damaging of these evidence that leading members of the SOE had met with the Deathless agent to receive this technology. The scope reached out to the SOE to explain their organization's connections to this known criminal group. Santamonis Sarpati responded, quote, We in no way solicited the attention of the Deathless Circle, but were approached by one of their agents regardless. They offered to provide us with designs that would allow us to spend less on our ship development and more on our efforts to explore New Eden and support its people. After much debate, we decided that it would be irresponsible not to make use of this technology. The motivations for this apparently charitable donation remains unclear, as do the specifics negotiated between the Deathless Circle and the more dangerous factions that they have provided with net resonators. News in brief. Skirmishes in G3D TAC T have escalated into a dreadnought clash, causing 1.1 trillion ISK worth of damages. It is the most costly fight ever in the system history. Rumors spread of growing tensions between Grissus, Angels, and Deathless as news of net resonator gift to SOE spreads. Alliance Tournament 20 seeding concluded, with several teams opting for heavy assault missile platforms, possibly attempting to curry favor with the Gristers organizers. SOCT invites open applications from children across New Eden as part of a new educational initiative. Ooh. Alexander Ducasse speaks in defense of net resonators at Tech Conference panel. Okay, so we will definitely get into back to the deep flow riffs and all that kind of stuff, but I think that this resonator thing is important. And it's important, and I think that it's important for a few reasons. The biggest reason is that this could have been a nothing burger, right? Like, so let's talk about what actually happened, okay? Is it this one? Nope, that's the other one. I don't think I have it prepared. All right, so in Havoc, when they released Havoc, one of the things they did... What did I say? Well, both SOE and SOCT are involved in this in different points. I'm going to probably get those two things confused a couple of times. I apologize. Well, I don't actually agree with that, Laurelite. We'll talk about that in a second. Yikes. All right, whatever. You didn't, I did. Okay, good. So, first of all, a little bit of clarity. SOAE is the Sisters of Eve, which are a ostensibly humanitarian organization that are also incredibly interested in the Eve Gate, Jovian technology, and drifter stuff, right? Now, the SOCT is the Society of Conscious Thought, which is an old Jovian society that has basically become a more like a prestigious academic institution in the modern day. I guess, yeah, since Havoc's release specifically, there is a lot that the Deathless has been doing. That's true. So, yeah, and of course, the Deathless, it comes from like 2018, and the Deathless, I have many videos about him, but the short of it is that I have my own theories about who he is, but the one thing that seems very consistent with the Deathless is that they are hostile to Concord and the Empires. So as far as why the Deathless would provide these net resonators, every single thing that the Deathless does weakens Concord, right? And more, and to a lesser extent, weakens the member empires of Concord, i.e. the Big Four, right? And so by providing these net resonators to the pirates directly, it is significantly undermining the different empires, and I'll show you why. So, oops. We go into game. We can see what happened. Ew. Yeah. So these are trigger Neuralink conduits, right? Trigger Neuralink conduits were introduced as part of the, we'll get there, Lorelei. The trigger Neuralink conduits were introduced as part of the industry revamp during scarcity in like 2021, all right? This was a big reason why the pirate ships were really, really expensive during scarcity. And to a lesser extent, the Navy ships were too, right? So they introduced these Neuralink conduits that were required for all faction ships at the time, right? So in other words, so this one, which is the Mimitar one, the GTAC-O, we have GTAC-O, we have RTAC-O, UTAC-C, and STAC-R. And these are the 4 races, right? And it affects those ships. So in other words, if I needed to build a Scythe fleet issue, I would need a GTAC-O trigger Neuralink, which required these new materials, new at the time, which are reacted from R4 moon materials, and this Neuralink stabilizer, which takes gas from that empire. So now, in order to build faction ships, you require gas and exploration doodads from the empire of the ship that you already are going to get, right? And so there's just the 4. Now, the letters represent what it is actually representing. We have the goal-oriented trigger Neuralink. We have the reaction-oriented trigger link. We have the Ultarian cycling trigger link. And we have the stress-responding trigger link. Now, the key here is that Empire ships required their Empire one, but pirate ships consist of 2 different empires, right? So Blood Raiders, for example, are both Amar and Mimitar. So in order to build this Kruger, you would have needed the Amar trigger link and the Mimitar trigger link. Again, this is why the pirate ships exploded in value, because that gas and those hacking modules, or the exploration modules, were fairly limited, right? So this ended up being a really lucrative way for people that were associated with those factions and doing stuff in low sec to make a bunch of money. And it actually really helped out with high sec exploration, because it was in the lowest tier data sites that you can find the exploration doodads that it takes to actually build these trigger links. Okay. Then in Uprising, I think it was, in order to make it so that faction ships were easier to build. So like Navy faction ships didn't actually become that much more expensive because there was an alternative way of making them. You could build, like if you wanted a Vexor Navy issue, you could build a normal Vexor and you could then turn it in with some LP and it would transform into a Vexor Navy issue. You also needed a chip. That functioned as kind of like the release valve that controlled the value of the Navy faction ships at that time, right? Even if those Neuralinks were prohibitively expensive, people could still just convert ships over with the faction warfare LP stores, right? So then with Uprising, in order to kind of alleviate the pressure, they made it so that you can't just get the free ship converted anymore, if I remember correctly, or it's a lot more expensive at least. But what they did was they took the doodads that are required to make the ships and put it in the faction warfare LP, and at the same either at the same time or roughly at the same time, they actually removed the requirement for the Neuralink conduits from the subcapital ships of Navy factions, right? So the Vexor Navy issue no longer required an SR trigger Neuralink conduit. But as you can see here, capitals still do absolutely require them. And that was kind of the way that they did it. So the only thing that still needed these things, subcapital, was pirate ships. So pirate ships continued to be very, very expensive, right? Until Havoc. And Havoc changed it because it replaced all of these trigger Neuralink conduits for those subcapital ships with these. So we have the SOE net resonator, Serpentis net resonator, Sancha, Mordu, Garistas, Blood Raider, and Angels. These are all of them, right? One for each of the true pirate factions, right? Going back here, these guys only have one. These are the big four. Upwell or Aura has its own. Only the Garistas, the Sancha, the Blood Raiders, the Angels, the Serpentis, the Sisters of Eve, and Mortis Legion are pirate in the fact that they have two different racial abilities that affect them, right? So they are the ones that got the net resonators. And this is when that plot started that's like, oh, where do these net resonators came from? And this is, of course, release of Havoc. So we now have learned that this net resonator is a tech that's provided by the Deathless. And we can see from the description here, it straight up says that like the Angel Cartel one is goal-oriented automatic heuristics and stress response mechanisms. So we can see like, okay, well, it's a G-Tech O trigger link, which is the Mimitar, and the stress response, the Galente one. And that makes sense. That's what it is. So this net resonator replaced the need for these two links. Now, why is this important to whether or not the Deathless, whatever? As I said, these Neuralink conduits made faction warfare LP, faction low-sec gas, and faction high-sec and low-sec data sites very valuable. Of course, LP is a reward mechanism for factions to get players to do what or capsuleers to do what they want. So these Neuralink conduits were a source, or rather the doodad that was part of it, which is actually this thing, the condenser. These condensers, which are the core of it, that's the exploration piece. Those can now be bought on the LP stores for the different empires. So these pirate faction ships are actually a source of revenue and power for the empires. So by providing these new net resonators, these new net resonators that are sold on the LP store of each of those pirate factions, they've actually taken the power of that manufacturing from the core empires and given it to the pirates. And that by itself advances the Deathless's goals. Now, whether or not it makes sense that the Deathless is the one providing all of this tech, given the fact that he's united the Quartermaster, the Life Giver, and himself and all of his operations, including potential contacts through the Ostacon Agency to the agency and other elsewhere. I mean, this man's connections are deep, and his interests in taking down Concord are fairly well established. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, there is something that stood out to me in all of this that I find very odd. And it's like, this is like media literacy stuff, not like in-game lore stuff. Here's what bothers me about this, everything that we've been talking about, okay, so far. I've seeded a couple pieces of information that has stood out to me like a thorn. In this article, and in all of these articles involving this, oh yeah, to go back to what some people have been saying, SOCT and Concord and all those ships do not require net resonators. So yeah. In all of these, we see this focus on the Sisters of Eve, right? It was a Sisters of Eve place that was first detected that something untoward was involved, that started the investigation. It was the Sisters of Eve that were questioned. It was the Sisters of Eve that were called out. And it's the Sisters of Eve that are also called out specifically by the Garissas and Angels at the bottom. And on the surface, we can say that, okay, well, is this anything serious? Probably not, right? Like, all this is a nod to the fact that Sisters of Eve are a pirate ship, pirate ship line, even if they're not pirates, right? So they technically got net resonators. But it's kind of weird that they got net resonators. So let's like make a thing out of it and like make that be the way that we tell everybody that there's something going on with this stuff, and that obviously the Deathless is trying to continue to unify the pirate groups. We'll send that message out by using the SOE, because it's kind of weird that the SOE are a pirate ship line, right? Like that makes sense. That's why you would do that. But here's the problem. There has been a significant controversy over the introduction of net resonators in real life, like by players. A very specific one, which is Garissas and Angels LP, easy peasy. They're now faction warfare. You can knock out Gilas all day, right? Like no problem. Sancha, a little bit more complicated. Blood Raiders, a little bit more complicated because those are the, you have to do the loyalty point stores in those areas. But there's some pirate people that are focused on those. That's fine. SOE makes sense. It's really easy to get SOE LP. Right? But the thing that everybody's been complaining about is the fact that you get Mortis Legion ships from killing rats in low sec, but you cannot build those ships without net resonators that require working for Mortis Legion in nullsec in like one specific place. So it's an incredibly dangerous place to do missions because that's the only place to do it. And you literally cannot build Mortis Legion ships right now without it. Period. That's a problem. And it has been a thing that has kind of been a low-key angst for a while. The other weird thing about that is that Mortis Legion is a member of Upwell. Upwell, in fact, the main force that has been acting against the Deathless has been Mortis Legion. So if we assume that the net resonators came from the Deathless, and we say it says that it's based on Jovian tech. So either we're trying to argue that the Mortis Legion independently developed the exact same tech at exactly the same time. No, it seems odd. It seems as if the Mortis Legion has received this technology from the Deathless, and oddly enough, none of the news articles point this out. That seems to me to be the much more glaring issue here, right? If the net resonators are from the Deathless, then wouldn't it stand out a lot more that Mortis Legion is using them and not just SOE? Doesn't it seem like a strange omission of information to leave out the fact that Mortis Legion also uses net resonators? Now, this could, in theory, go one in three ways. One, it could mean Marty just wanted a hat made out of net resonators. I love it. It could be nothing. This could be nothing. This could be I've noticed something that wasn't supposed to be noticed. It could mean nothing. Okay, we'll just accept that first. I think that this likely could mean one of two things. One, this might blow up in a bit, right? We're currently in a plot that is ongoing. The SOE were the main focus because they were the ones that were exposed as getting it from the Deathless, which means if the Mordu managed to get theirs from the Deathless, they managed to hide it better, right? So the next step could easily come where the focus turns more on Mortis Legion. I accept that. This could also, and this is my tinfoil / cope / whatever, this could be a hint that they're going towards what we've been asking for a while now, which is basically somehow removing Mortis Legion from the concept of being a pirate ship line, and instead somehow unify Edencom, Upwell, and Mordu ship lines and Ore ship lines into one like package, preferably one that could be like so if you help with counterinsurgencies, that would be the new way to get Upwell LP, and with Upwell LP you could get Mordu's net resonators or BPC or BPOs, Edencom BPCs. Why? Because this fixes a lot of different problems. One, it fixes the fact that Mordu's LP is very difficult to get, which makes it unusually difficult to build Mordu's ships. It fixes the fact that currently insurgencies are kind of lackluster because there's no dedicated reward for counterinsurgents. It's just more LP of the same. It fixes the fact that Upwell ships is listed as Edencom in the ship browser. It fixes the problem where people think that Upwell, Ore, and Mordu are three different manufacturers. And it fixes the problem that in order to get Edencom ships, you must get DED LP, which is, I think, worth 100,000 ISK per LP now for how rare it is to get. And that's why Edencom ships, are, especially Edencom ammo, is so prohibitively expensive. Not because it's so great, but because the source of the LP to buy them used to be a giant faucet when it was invasions, but now that it's post-invasions, it's very, very difficult to get DED LP. So the idea is that, like, yeah, this fixes a lot of different problems, and it also like helps establish Upwell as the counterforce. You know, it unifies a lot of this stuff. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Now then, now that we've talked about the net resonators, there is actually one last piece to this. Let's attach this, okay? Let's pull this and the other piece of news together, all right? We're going to go back and look at the mysterious data slices. Capsuleers are reporting the discovery of mysterious data elements, spectral emission slices, blah, 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 okay? So basically what this means is that over the last week and a half, since the deep flow rifts have spawned, there has been 3 sets of slices that have been released. Now we can look. We can look here and see that, like, here's all of the stuff, the rewards from the deep flow rifts. We can see that there's all these different spectral emission slices, and each of them are listed by some Greek letter, right? And each of them have a description that says this data slice emits faint blackbody radiation, a part of the whole, either split or due to damage or willful subterfuge. Curious capsuleers may gain more information by overlaying multiple fragments. With the right approach, something might click. So each of these slices provided a piece of a picture, and as it suggests, you layer each of the pieces on top of each other to make one cohesive image. Now, these were released in 3 different sets. This is the near final image with all of the slices but one on there. The other exception, eventually again, this is just brand new stuff. Today they found the last slice, so the middle piece should actually look closer to that. By the way, blackbody radiation is a thing. Likely the data is hidden on one of the data sheets but can't be seen unless you image it with the heat detecting sensors. Interesting. I know that blackbody radiation is a thing. A lot of the stuff that they talk about in this stuff are real things. All right. So here is the slice from this morning, minus that one last piece that I talked about. Now, the original piece, basically all of these dots and this centerpiece was not originally, like the original set was just the background image and then the Roman numerals. So 999, and then this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay. And then the second set of slices added in all of these dots along the outside, as well as this Earth, Sun, and Moon symbol. But that slice, those set of slices did not have the Roman numerals on them. Okay. And then the third set of slices that were found today were this centerpiece image. So here is the slice as it was from yesterday. And this is Kaj, right? Yeah, the wizard. There you go. Hi. Kaj, right? Oh, I'll pull that one up too. Thanks. Thank you, Lorelai. Hey, Tranquilla. Wizard. Okay, fine. It's Kai. Sorry. Thank you. So either way, I will say big shout out to the wizard, who has been very active in the last couple of days in our Discord and has been, you know, obviously most of this stuff has been being figured out on the Arataka Research Consortium Discord. But, you know, we've been also talking about it on our Discord, which you can always join using the link that I'm putting in the chat. But yeah, I don't know how much of these slides were made by the wizard or by other people, so I'm just going to give the wizard credit for all of them. But basically, very early on, it was determined that the numbers in the Roman numerals, at least the outside numbers of the Roman numerals, correspond to the planets and moons of the 4 different of the 4 different empires, right? So, or the 4 different. What it shows is the planets and moons of the 4 systems that are connected to Zarzak. This picture's from Lorelite, by the way. At least that's who provided it to me. So what you can see here is that this one that says XL5 or XLV, XL is 40, V is 5. So we see that there's 40 moons and 5 planets in the system of Turner. Likewise, XL VII means that there's 40 moons, 7 planets in GTAC O, so on and so forth. And then it's the Valkyrie Drifter Outpost map, but assembled with pirate fobs. What? You're saying that that looks like a drifter hive? I don't agree. Any rate, so then the second set of slices showed up and it had all of these dots. And once they got them all in, the dots don't necessarily exactly correspond, although it may actually correspond with physical location. If you look up the constellations, it isn't exactly the same locations, but it's basically the correct number of planets and the relative position of the, number of systems, and the relative relationship of the key system in that constellation is in the correct spot. So likewise in Ugidi, oh, they link up in Dotland. All right, well, that's weird. Anyway, so it appears as if these 4 circles, boom, 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 and boom, are related to the 4 systems that connect to Zarzak. Now, one thing that you can notice is that the same 4 circles are shown in shadow, slightly wider out, and rotated 45 degrees? Yeah, I think that's how that works. Yeah, a 45-degree rotation to the shadow. That doesn't seem to have, like, I don't think anybody's come up with a good meaning for that yet. There is a lot of people that are speculating that some of this has to do with time, right? Because this is a space-time map. So there could be some temporal components to this mapping. But I've yet to hear any compelling argument to, like, put that to anything. Another thing that's worth noting is that each of the places are a little bit different. You have these 3 are divided into 8 segments each. And this one is divided into, I want to say 12 segments. And of course, the Drifter Outpost is different from a normal hive. In 16. Okay, whatever. Thank you. I always get it. See, I guessed 16 last time. I thought somebody corrected me. Hold on. If I find a good picture of the Valkyrie level. What was the name of it? I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it really quick. I am 90% sure that the structure in Valkyrie was just a very typical drifter hive. Either way. So there's different numbers of segments, and even amongst the ones that have 8 segments, they're different, right? This one has an extra ring on the outside. This one has like 4 or 5 different concentric circles inside of it. And each of these are reflected in what's underneath it. And there's a whole bunch of, you can go mad looking at this picture. There's all different weird places where the lines don't necessarily add up, or like you could try to read into it a bunch of scribbles and whatnot. Again, I haven't seen any compelling argument as to what this is actually trying to show. The other thing that I find really interesting is so while these numbers on the outside ring and all of these outside dots make a lot of sense, right? All of these, we've gotten them figured out already, you know? But these 3 numbers on the inside and the 3 symbols next to them are still kind of confusing. It says 999. Now, the initial immediate gut reaction for most people is to say, oh, well, that's Pochvin, right? So this must be Pochvin. And the moon, the cross, and the sun must be representing the Triglavian clades. That has been a popular theory that I've seen. But the problem is I can't make that work. Like, the only thing of value in that assumption, in that assessment, is the fact that it's 3 sets of 9, which is the number of systems in Pochvin. The problem with this is that, like, based on the position, I want it to mean something, right? So if these 2 are between these 2 and this one's there, like, I want it to mean like, oh, well, this one must be close to this one, you know? But the problem is that this represents GTAC-O in Curse, and we have no idea what this is, but it certainly, none of the Pochvin systems are anywhere close to nullsec. And if you map out the Pochvin systems, I think I did this in voice chat yesterday. Hold on. If you map out the Pochvin systems, you get this. Kino, Nyarja, and the other one. This doesn't seem like, none of this lines up in any way that I can find any meaningful bit out of. But the wizard actually just brought up an interesting point that I want to go into. And now I just realized it might take me a second. Hold on. Bookmarks. Oh, well. Come on. Give me a decent picture. This is not what I was trying to show you. This is a natal chart, right? Natal charts is part of astrology. The idea is that in astrology, like, the positions of all of the bodies in space relative to your position controls your fate, right? That's astrology. So what this really is, if you're looking at it, is a map of the heavens at the time of this person's birth, right? But you can see that the map itself is divided into categories and subcategories and radiuses and, components. Now there are, yeah, this is what astrogeology becomes if you get it to 6. And then oh, that's the zodiac wheel. So see if I can find a better example, but either way. Here's another one. So what basically this is showing is, and this is where astrology kind of comes from. If you want to think about it, astrology, like, effectively, if you take the Earth's sky and you divide it into bands, okay? If you take the sky and you divide it into different bands, this is what they mean when they say things like the moon is in Jupiter or the moon is in Taurus or whatever, right? Because basically there's just 4 different constellations in the world. There's 12 different constellations in the sky, right? And each of the constellations is kind of centered in where it is in the sky. And so they've divided the sky into 12 different sections, each ruled by a different celestial or constellation, right? And the idea is that this maps the position of the different orbital bodies at the time in the sky. So in this case, you can see in this picture, the sun his sun sign is Aquarius, right? His Mars is in Pisces, I want to say. The interesting thing about this, though, is that this goes back also into the 3 symbols that we see that are that we can't necessarily sort out, right? If these dots represent the constellations, I find it very interesting that the 3 innermost symbols, the ones quote unquote associated with the 9s, are alchemical symbols or astrological symbols, namely Earth, Sun, and Moon. Now, what's weird about that is that generally speaking, we can see here, oh yeah, there is an Earth sign. Wait a minute, what is the Earth sign? Hold on. No, that wasn't what I wanted. The position of Earth? Wait, no. What? That's not Earth. That's something else. Where did you get this image? I just Googled natal chart. So here are the different astrology symbols. And it's also worth noting that these symbols also come from alchemy. It's Earth? Okay, fair enough. Well, Earth is usually... So the reason why I was saying that is because Earth is usually a plus, not an X. So I was quickly checking because there's a lot of, like, asteroid belts, or there's, like, other minor entities that often show up on natal charts. So I just decided to double check. You can actually look up your own natal chart. Right, that's what I was saying. Like yeah. Oh yeah, no, all of these are alchemical symbols. So you got Earth, Moon, and Sun. And the reason why this is, by the way, is that both alchemy and astrology both come from Hermetics, ancient Egyptian traditions. So both astrology and alchemy have the same root. So yeah, they use the same language and theory. Art of fortune? Well, but I don't know what it means on a natal chart. Hold on a second. Real quick, hold on. I was born August 22nd, 82, 1 a.m. Oops. Hold on. Does it even show it? Okay. Let me try it again. Over here, where you can see it. Actually, you can't see it because my browser's hiding. Ashtarothi. August 22nd. 82, 1 a.m. Now I just got to know. Oh no, it doesn't even show up on my chart. I don't know. Maybe that one isn't supposed to be there. Oh my God, there's so much information. Here's my actual chart. And yeah, you can see I don't actually see an Earth symbol on it. So interesting. So that's why I think, hey guys, that's why I think that like it's kind of interesting that it is alchemical symbols, possibly astrological symbols, and it is laid out in a way that looks very similar to a natal chart. Here, Punch, if you haven't gone yet, we're looking at this chart. Pars Fortuna, Pars Sun, Moon, and Rising. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, it's true. If you wanted to read this chart, you could say that this is the sun sign, this is the moon sign, and this is the earth sign. But again, I don't know. Or that's the rising sign, I should say. Or, okay, so it's calculated from sun, moon, and rising. So we may not have the rising. Again, this is a weird theory in the first place. So who knows? This is That's the thing, is that we know what this map, we are pretty sure we know what this map is of, but we don't know what this map is telling us. You know what I mean? That's the big mystery still. And the other kicker to this, and this is the wrench in the puzzle, okay? Here's the big thing that gets me. These symbols, everything that we've talked about here has been, you know, the deathless, right? We've got all of this stuff is based on Zarzak. It's very clearly, like, a lot of things are associated with Zarzak. The Zarzak association checks out. The Triglavian connection is very tenuous with the idea of this 999 thing, right? But otherwise, there's no other evidence. There's no motif of 3 or anything that you would expect from a Triglavian archaeology or a record of some kind. So you would think that this was either like maybe the Deathless's chart or maybe Edencom's chart or whoever, or Upwell's thing. They're trying to create something to understand what's going on in the Fulcrum. But that's not where we're getting this. We're not getting this from killing insurgency rats, right? We're not getting this from killing angels or Guristas. We're getting this by pulling things out of the deepest areas of the abyss alongside the remains of drifters and Triglavians. So we kind of have 2 sources, potentially, for this information. The drifters and the Triglavians. Now, the Triglavians have Slavic language style and love 3s in their motifs. Does not appear to be very Triglavian. However, if you remember, all of these different slices had different letters that let you know which one it was. These letters are Greek letters. Now, they might have chosen Greek letters just to be kooky, right? It was something that they could do with their fonts that would look different. But the Greek is strongly associated with Jovians, and its association with the Greek language and culture, or like nomenclatures, is the reason why, or one of the big reasons why we know that the drifters are related to the Jovians. So both Jovians and drifters use Greek stuff, where the Triglavians tend to use Slavic stuff. So if I had to guess between the two, it would seem like this is the drifters. But, like, we don't have communication from the drifters. They're the big bad guys. We don't work with them. We don't understand them. So if it is them, why do they have this information? What does the drifters and Triglavians have anything to do with Zarzak? And again, what is this chart trying to tell us? Is this an invasion? Is this an advancement? And then the final piece of this, another big piece of it, I should say, is this centerpiece in the middle, right? This thing that just started showing up today. This thing. Now, what is this thing? Now, what's interesting about this is because of the way that the slices work, we actually have multiple layers of this piece of tech or whatever it is in the middle. So this is what it looks like hollowed out. And then you can add the centerpiece to get this. So the question becomes, what is this? Now, the quick answer, the easy answer is, well, everything else up until this point has been about Zarzak, right? Like, it could easily be that this is the fulcrum, and it's like kind of showing where it radiates out to. Now, that does make a good amount of sense, does track, but that means this map doesn't mean anything, right? Like, if this is just the fulcrum, and those dots are just the other dots, like, what even means anything? Is it just the alchemical symbols or this astrological symbols? Is it just the nines that matter? Everything else is just confirming what it is, if that's the case. But another thing that people noted is that it doesn't actually look all that much like Zarzak. So this is the top of Zarzak without any of the normal accoutrement. And while it does have that kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it kind of has that similar layout. I think it would be pretty hard to argue. Some people are saying that it looks like the Prophecy trailer. I don't agree with that at all, but we'll look at that. So if you, it looks like there's pieces like this. God damn it. This is flat. This is like something laid on top of something else, like a container almost. So one of the things that people have pointed out is that rather than something that, rather than the fulcrum, it looks like it goes into the fulcrum. Oops. What was that? Stop. No. There we go. That's a totally different thing. I'm not there yet. So actually, let's go ahead and head there real quick. The other thing that some people have suggested is the Jovian stargates, which look like this. Not quite the same. Here we are at the fulcrum. And you can see that the fulcrum is kind of placed in such a way that maybe something goes in there. But it is pretty clear that this is not exactly what is being depicted. I think that it looks like it is compatible with, but not the fulcrum itself. And it is worth noting that you see this centerpiece here, and then this thing sticking out the middle, which is very similar to the way this centerpiece is, but not actually correct. Someone said the center of the fulcrum is lighting up. I don't know what the center is. Oh, Was that not lit up before? Certainly looks like something's going on down there. Now I got to find old footage to see whether or not. Hmm. This place is so cool. But yeah, we don't know. Now, sorry, to tie all this together, to tie these two different stories together, there is a loose connection, but one I feel like it's worth pointing out. And to get that, we need to look at the rewards for these deep flow riffs a little bit closer. So let's see. We have the spectral emission slice. Pretty sure that it goes to a new structure. There's a type ID of 84294. Ah. Oh, I see. It's the thing that's marked placeholder. There's more than one placeholder. But one is listed as a mission container. Man, if only we had Uriel still on our side of the fence that could like extract the models and see whether or not there's anything there. There's definitely more stuff coming out. And of course, you know, follow the stream and whatnot. We'll be going over it as it develops. But yeah. Anywho, the other rewards are also kind of interesting. First of all, there's the frozen ryba, which is a type of fish. It's kind of a joke because, of course, this event is the fishing of Eve. Like, or, you know, they've added fishing into Eve. One of the interesting components of all of this, and one of the things I think is kind of important, so these kinds of events have a tendency to be a place for them to experiment with different mechanics. And the interesting thing that they're experimenting with on this one is this thing up here. AoE tractor beam repeating blocker 300 kilometers. So one of the things that people noticed when they do these deep flow rifts is showed a mock-up. Where is that? Where do they show a mock-up? Anyway, so if you use a tractor beam on these deep flow rifts, or really on anything, after a single cycle, the tractor beam shuts off. Now, normally, that isn't what happens. Like, you can choose whether or not it shuts off or whether or not it auto cycles. Farog is a sun god, Veles is an earth god, and unfortunately Perun is a moon god, but he is a sky god. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Didn't Veles take over from Dazbog? Or did Farog take over from Dazbog? Shit, I talk about this in my Abyss video. Or my Triglavian video. Any rate, my point is that this effect makes it so that your tractors don't auto cycle, which is a very interesting mechanic to be experimenting with. The question is, what other modules might they do this kind of thing with? What other thing? Effectively, if you want to think about it, they made it like, okay, well, here's a site where there's an object that you interact with by activating a module on it. that would normally be like this module would normally have some other effect on things, but in this scenario it does this different thing and doesn't cycle. Like that is a mechanic, that is a thing to test, and that's one of the things I think is a big piece of what they're doing in this event. But either way, the other thing that's interesting, there's two other things that are interesting. Well, there's the rats themselves, but then there's two things. One of them has got me going up a wall, and the other one seems to have the community going up a wall. We'll start with the second one rather. The electron spin resonance. Now, this is the major commodity that was introduced as part of this thing, right? So you extract cans out of this stuff. You open up the cans. You get some emission slices. You might get an emission slice rather. You get some red loot, some blue loot, and you can also get these electron spin resonances. And the electron spin resonance is a new commodity that was introduced, and it says a signal beacon containing wormhole resonance frequencies that correspond to the rotational momentum of electrons. The reason why I find that interesting is because if we go back to our discussion about net resonators, it says, make use of electron tunneling to fast-track electric impulses from neurons associated with key automatic responses to receivers and chips in which they are recalled. So these net resonators use electron resonance or uses resonance from electron tunneling. And we also have these weird electron spin resonance slices. Now, CCP are not, I mean, like they have done it before where commodities suddenly become useful for other things. Usually we have a pretty good idea of what they would be used for when they are first released. Almost certainly a typo. They're really good at typos. Yeah, Intosis shenanigans. That was one of the ones I thought about. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Intosis is one of the big ones that stands out to me. But also salvaging, because remember, they've been doing a lot of work when it comes to like salvaging opportunities and the new salvaging home front. But either way, the other reward, and the one that's got me, is the Azdaja statuette. Now, some people have tried to read into the fact that it's like a Chinese dragon type thing. I would advise against that. What is jade? Do they not have it? I am 90% sure that this image, the Azdaja statuette image, is already on something else. This is a reused asset. I'm 90% sure. Let me go check. Special edition commodities. I thought there was like a jade statue. It's old, if there is. Scrolling, no statues, da-da-da. Am I just an idiot? Anybody want to help me? I swear that this is an old thing, but that isn't even my point. When they put in these kinds of cosmetic items, normally there is some sort of nod to them or something interesting in them. There's a reason why they seed these things in, and they often don't like come up until much later, with things like, say, the transneural microcontrollers and such. But the thing that gets me about this is the reference to Azdaja, because Azdaja is, of course, a ancient evil dragon as part of the myths of the Slavic tradition. And so, you know, they have identified the drifters as being the ancient enemy Azdaja. So the question is, why are these Azdaja statuettes of a dragon showing up? And this is an interesting piece to this whole, like, the lore of EVE Online and how it works, right? Because EVE Online has a bunch of, is it Yinmei? I can't find it. Wait, hold on. Nope. Huh. You know, the problem is that all of this seems to reference drifters more than Triglavians. I'm going to reference my own video. It's a great video. You guys should check it out if you haven't already. Messages from Zoria, who are the Triglavians, part 1. Oh, touchstones hint to a relationship between the drifters, Jovians, and the sleepers. The Triglavians use Slavic mythology in their culture, which sets them apart from the other races. But that also means that better understanding of Slavic mythology may give us a better understanding as to the true nature of the Triglavians. Zoria is the name of the 3 sisters that represent the morning, evening, and midnight stars. The threefold manifestation is reflected in the threefold nature of the Zoria we know. Additionally, the deity Triglav is a 3-headed god who rules over the heaven, earth, and underworld. And wouldn't you know it, the 3 sub-deities of the Triglav are, as you might guess it, Svarog, Perun, and Velez. So here we have an agent of the convocation of Triglav, who's named after the 3 sisters, who serve a god whose name is the name of their collective. And this god has 3 heads, whose names are also the names of the 3 major sub-factions of the Clades. Now, don't get me started with that, but Ashtarothi, the 3 gods of the Triglav are actually Perun, Svarog, and Dazbog. It was Velez. To your straw man, I say but Velez replaced Svarog later on. Which may also matter to our understanding of the Triglavians in ways that I'm not really willing to go into it right now. And this is as far as I'm willing to go in pretending that I know anything about Slavic mythology. And I haven't learned much more since then. So, yeah, I do know that Velez is like the latecomer because, like, he's the Velez is the incorrect one in the setup. What happened to this style of smash cut lore video? Me trying to make everything by myself. Made it so that these kind of me coming online and just talking to you guys about it, it makes it a lot easier for me to produce them. It's just that easy. I mean, I made this because I was trying to like do some stuff with talking in stations, but either way, I want to do more stuff like this, but I spend most of my time trying to get ready for live streams and stuff. I do, like, there's been a lot of talk about this, especially over the summer, where a lot of my older videos, especially like some of my lore videos and my fitting master guide, I want to go through it and like either redo certain sections of it to make it tighter or like edit them together to make different release. I haven't figured it out yet, but I know that there's a lot of people that would rather I make some more tightened stuff, and I want to, but in the end, I get done what I can get done. Cut it into 29,800 shorts. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I was really proud of this video, actually. It's also worth noting that I will say that a big piece of it might also be the fact that my more edited videos didn't get any better of a reception than the live streams. But either way. I am looking to work with more people when it comes to content creation. So if you want to help out with like editing or anything, I can put you on the cool list of cool people that, and we have some basic ISK or Master Arm Cerebral accelerators for people that want to join the cause. Anywho, let's see. What else are we talking about? Anything else? Is there anything else about this? I still can't find that statuette picture. Oh, found it. Yep. Antique Verrocchio statue. Now, do I think that this means anything? No, I think that they just reused the placeholder. Now, but okay, sorry. Going back to what we were talking about before. Why does this like stick to me? Because in all of EVE Online, there's a lot of references to to like real life things, right? Ships named after animals or mythical creatures and other mythical things being cited or talked about here and there. But there's always this kind of understanding that a lot of the culture has been actually lost. And while they have these words like Gila and Condor and etc., they don't necessarily know what it all means, right? Most of the older records, anything pre-Evegate has been lost to the people, right? So the idea that the Triglavians would maintain Azdaja as a title for their ancient enemy to mean really bad guy makes a lot of sense. But the fact that they have a physical statue of a dragon that they call Azdaja, because ostensibly this is from the Triglavian side, is interesting. It means that at least on some level, they know that Azdaja was a dragon, like the actual cultural significance of it, not just the name itself. What the weird thing about this is, when this kind of has been something that's bothered me for a while now, when there was a rogue drone attack. Dang it, I forgot to look this up too. There was a rogue drone attack a few years ago, and these fragments were found off of the rogue drones from that attack. Now, this attack very clearly, like if you would fight rogue drones, and that could escalate, and then I think it was that escalation can escalate. But either way, if you go all the way down the chain of escalations, the final fight wasn't against rogue drones, it was a Triglavian conduit. So it was trying to really lock in the idea that this rogue drone swarm was one of the Triglavian rogue drone swarms, which is fine. We know that they use those. So that means that these messages are at least from rogue drones that are corrupted or at least been exposed to Triglavians. The reason why this is important is because, hold on. Whoa, that was definitely not what I meant to do. what they found was that the messages were written in Slavic or Ukrainian, right? I think. And the reason why was because this comes from a play called Rus. R-U-S. Okay. Shoot. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Dang it. Oh my God. I can't find it. All right, whatever. There's a play called R-U-S that is R-U-R? Is it R-U-R? Ha! Thank you. Bright alert. All right, R.U.R. is a 1920s science fiction play by the Czech writer, sorry, Karel Čapek. R.U.R. stands for Rossum's Universal Robots. Now, the reason why this play is historically relevant is because it is the very first use of the word robot as we understand it, right? And so there's these different characters, these different robots, Sola, Marius, Radius, Daemon, blah, 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 right? And in the records that we find, I have too many things pulled up. Really? Hold on. Oh, man. Hold on. Why did this get messed up? Okay, so in this article, they found it. They started to translate it and all that stuff. And there's one particular line that bothers me. There's a bunch of different Asajj is just a word for dragon in Croatian, and Ryba is again the word for fish in Croatian, so they did a lazy job of naming them. Yeah, but the Azdaja is also like a mythical dragon. It's like a specific dragon. Either way, nature has found a way to organize living matter, but there's another way, simpler, more creative, and faster for it. This second path is the development could have taken. This is the one that gets me. No, Marius and Sulla were military leaders and fought against each other in the year I don't know anymore. The reason why this is important is because Maria and Sulla were actual military leaders that actually fought in actual real life in the past. We have the Sulla Civil War. Roman General Lucius Cornelius Sulla and opponent Gaius Marius in the year 83 to 82 BC. Okay? So this fragment, GQ35, which I'm showing right now, this fragment references a real-life play that came from the turn of the century that references a real-life conflict that happened in 80 BC. Wait, Azdaja is a thing in in Verrocchio. No. Okay, hold up. We're getting confused. Okay, I don't believe that Verrocchio use the word as Daja. That isn't what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is CCP reused the icon. Once upon a time, a long time ago, they introduced a whole bunch of cosmetic items in order to show off the different cultures. And one of them was this Verrocchio statuette. And it reads, this statue represents a serpentine figure of ancient Verrocchio mythology. Whether it bodes good or ill depends on origin and the mindset of its owner. Regardless, originals are increasingly rare these days. So, that icon was used as, and they do this all the time. My point was more, let's not read too much into the fact that it's a statue of a Chinese dragon or anything about the image, because the image was just reused. What's important is it's now a statue in the game, a small statue in the shape of a dragon made from common materials. So my point is, why was this added, and why do the Triglavians have actual cultural items of Azdaja, not just referring to the drifters as Azdaja? Does that make sense? That's the thing that gets me curious. And the reason why is because the Triglavians appear to have obsession with records of their past, right? They're able to look things up in ancient records to find out what they did with the drifters originally. They had to find out ancient records about what they did with the polity that they had with the Jovians back in the day. They have ancient noemas, i.e. rules that they adhere to religiously almost. And they seem to be very particular about proving and validating everything that gets stored in their collective memory, effectively in the clade flow. So I hope one of the things I think that this means is just another symptom that the Triglavians actually have a record of their culture that is far better preserved than any of the empires that are in the modern day, including the Jove. And this is really important because I've been calling this the precursor crisis since the Triglavians first showed up, right? The idea is that both the Triglavians and the Drifters are these precursor civilizations that come from the Second Jovian Empire, or at least that time period. And the idea is that, like, well, everybody was really interested in the Jove. CCP wanted to do more stuff with the Jove, but the problem is that the Jove, as they are right now, aren't the interesting part, right? The Third Jovian Empire, the Jove Directorate, is the weakest position that the Jove have ever been in. So what they basically did was with Caroline Starr, they got rid of the Jove, right? They said, okay, guess what? The modern Jove are gone. We now know that. There's less than 100 left. They are as far as gone as we can get them. However, at the same time, they begin to introduce pieces of the old Jove from sleeper space, which we know sleepers are ancient Jovians who disconnected from the rest of the Jove to go flee and hide in wormhole space. From the Jovian, from those sleeper constructs emerge the Other and the Drifters. And I totally forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So the precursor crisis. And then the Triglavians, of course, have records from those days. They both have records of them being as or contemporary with the First Jovian Empire, and also records that they can look at of their monitoring of the Second Jovian Empire. So obviously contemporaries. And the reason why all of this is important is because CCP seeded a mystery. There's one of the great mysteries of the game, of the universe, is what happened to the Second Jovian Empire. there is an event that is known as the Shrouded Days. Now, the history of the First and Second Jovian Empire has shifted around a little bit over time. It used to be that the disease was the Jovian disease was pegged at being in the First Jovian Empire. It was later on associated with the Second Jovian Empire. We know what we know is the First Jovian Empire fell because of the elders. I have my own tinfoil theory about that. There's a great video about that. But the point is that we don't actually know what happened with the Shrouded Days. The Jovians don't even know what happened during the Shrouded Days. Something occurred. They went into it an empire, reformed by Malik Bal to regain the greatness of the former Jovian Empire. They enter the Shrouded Days like that. They leave the Shrouded Days a completely broken people, their biology a ticking time bomb, and a significant portion of their population fleeing the rest of them for fear of retribution and going and hiding out in the remains of the Talakan Empire. Now, again, like there's tinfoil and stuff, like there's all kinds of different theories about that stuff, and I've talked about it before, but I think that is what a lot of this is about, right? The Shrouded Days, whatever happened in the Shrouded Days, it led to the Drifters and the Triglavians. It almost feels like, especially since they called the Drifters the ancient enemy Azdaja. It's also worth noting, actually, side note, when the Triglavians referred to the Drifters as this ancient enemy Azdaja, they didn't actually know that the Drifters were the Drifters. They thought that the Drifters were just the Second Jovian Empire. They recognized them as Jovian, and they recognized Jovians as their ancient enemy Azdaja. And in a different record, in their record about the Sancha, they do a review of an ancient polity or society that they had that was a combination of Jovian and Triglavian. And it had the subcategory hybrid, or category hybrid, subcategory hive mind. And so this polity became corrupted and required integrity checking and immolation of anybody connected to it in order to preserve the Triglavian people. So all that to say is that something happened during the Second Jovian Empire, and we are still feeling the effects and ramifications of that to this day. Zarzak's involved, potentially. The Triglavians and Drifters are obviously involved. And so the fact that the Triglavians, the fact that the CCP has hinted that the Triglavians have this treasure trove of information, I think is valuable, right? They've kept the idea of Bouillon and the culmination of the Triglavians' plans. They've kept that in really close by. But the point is that I think that the Triglavians have the answers to these questions. The Triglavians did not have the same social collapse that the Jovians did. So it is very possible that we will learn more about the Second Jovian Empire. And that's why I've called this the precursor crisis, because I think that all of this, everything that's been happening since Rubicon, has basically been CCP exploring the end of the Second Jovian Empire, the Shrouded Days, and with the idea that the new Jovian space, i.e. the Third Jovian Empire space, the one that was cut off, may be some crown jewel prize in the end. Although we're getting further and further away from that. So yeah, that's some good tinfoil, I guess. There you go. And that's the reason why things like the Azdaja statuette and some records from a real play really stand out to me, because it just is another sign that the Triglavians have incredibly precise records. And it's worth noting that basically all of human history that we know of comes from Amarian records and to a lesser extent Galenti records. That's why a lot of our history is actually based on Amari and Galente. You know, obviously the Minmatar had their culture eradicated a couple times, but the Amar, thanks to the Pax Amaria, their holy scriptures, whatever, you know, that is actually like this living document where they keep adding things to it, which eventually becomes effectively a record of history. And so that's where we know a lot of the history of things. And that's why we know a lot more about Amarian history than say, Minmatar history, for example. But yeah. Yeah. Anything else about that? Let's see. All right, let's go on to other news. Does it seem at all relevant? Hey, Tranquilla with 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Tranquilla, for all your support. And thanks on behalf of Daniel, Pim, Rizotix, Sir Maximus, Dragon Talon, Samu, Darjk, Vince, Sebastian Engeman, and Two Stroke, and of course myself. Thank you so much, Tranquilla. It's good spending time with you too. We're going to go kill some stuff soon. The prize you're alluding to technically is in the hands of the SSCT. But the prize that you're alluding to is technically in the hands of the SSCT. You mean the knowledge about the Second Jovian Empire? I don't think the SSCT have the knowledge about the Shrouded Days. The Jovians don't even have the knowledge of the Shrouded Days. That's why it's the Shrouded Days. What was the whole story about the prophecy video? The story in which they're building a gate to lead where? Yes, the SSCT have demonstrated the capacity to transport themselves to Jovian space pretty freely. I'm waiting for the one undiscovered landmark to be tied to everything. I know, right? Anyway, so the prophecy video.
Join large-scale battles with...
Yeah, we'll watch it again. So there are 2 or 3 things happening in this that are going to be worth paying attention to. Yeah, let's jump into it.
From the formless void, there springs an entity more primordial than the elements themselves. In its wake, they will follow a storm.
The prophecy is true. The heretics have constructed the gate.
It must be destroyed.
Commanders, it is the dawn of a new era. Today, we hold the key to new worlds, wealth, and our independence.
Ignition sequence initiated. Stand by for perimeter evacuation.
Once the gate is active, it will change our world forever.
The fleet awaits your command, my lord.
Detecting an Imperial fleet moving in on your location.
We are not aborting the sequence. Prepare for battle.
Bravo wing, clear for dust off.
Clear. Form up on me. Bravo squad,
It is a badass video.
Valkyries, intercept those troop carriers.
Multiple bogies incoming, launching fighters.
Retaining field is online. Clear the ignition zone now.
Negative. We defend the gate.
They're getting through. Prepare for breach. They're closing in on us. Keep up the pressure.
Ignition complete.
In its wake, there will follow a storm.
So that video is super hype, right? Okay. Now I'm going to have to bring us all down to earth. This video represents almost an aborted timeline, unfortunately. So basically, CCP Seagull started a whole thing where they were changing the way they were doing the development, and they were working on towards this grand goal. And she came out with this 2-year, I think it was, timeline, where basically they were going to be working on a lot of the core systems of the game, things like corp management and whatnot, and then new things were coming too. And the big cherry at the end there was this idea of player-built Stargates, right? This is back in 2014, remember? So this is right when Valkyrie was being teased. I don't think it was quite out yet. Dust had been canceled, but they're already working on Project Nova. We knew about that. So the idea behind this trailer was that this was supposed to be the vision, right? What CCP Seagull came out and said, okay, here's our 2-year plan. And at the end of the 2-year plan was new spaces, new opportunities, and it was represented by the Stargate. Dust wasn't canceled until 2016. Are you, what? Hold on. Dust 144 lasted until 2016? Oh, yes, I guess it only came out in 2013. No. 2014 is the death knell of Dust. 2014 was in fact, this exact same fan fest where this video was played that I'm not showing right now was the Rouge wedding, when all of the Dust people came to FanFest to find out how CCP was going to fix their game. And CCP announced that they were going to be making it on the PlayStation, or for the PC, remaking it for the PC. And that was their big announcement. That was with CCP Rouge. But yeah, it was kept running until 2016. That makes sense. I'm just saying, like, but yeah. So either way, but the point is that you have Dust, you have Valkyrie, you have all these things, and so CCP was very much this whole like one universe, one world war, bringing these things all together, especially at this time, and so see if I can find it. Oh my God, I found it. Looking behind and looking ahead, an update from Eve executive producer C.P. Siegel. So this is 2015. So you can see that they're working on sovereignty and warfare structures, corporation alliances, and new world properties and mechanics, new sandbox gameplay, which leads to Stargates and new areas of the universe, right? And so the Eve Vision trailer or the Eve Prophecy trailer functioned as kind of this carrot that was like, hey, guys, this is where we're going. This is the prophecy of what Eve will look like or how it'll work in the future. Now, obviously, a lot of things got in the way of these of this stuff, right? So, obviously they came out with Citadels. This is about the time of Citadels. So if you want to think about it that, so you see the big changes to faction or to capitals, then new structures, etc. But like they had the Drifter invasions, and the Drifter invasions ended up having a lot of problems. And so between that and other things, the 2-year plan collapsed completely. By the time we got to the end of the 2 years, C.P. Siegel had actually moved on from the company and joined Unity. And so this original path was kind of diverted from. And I like to think that Encelebix Stargates are like the final capstone that disproves Prophecy trailer, right? Because like Encelebix Stargate jump gates were basically the player-built Stargates that they were quote-unquote working towards. Now, I still believe that the original plan was that the new areas of the universe was supposed to be Jove space, because during that same time we have the Inheritance Chronicle, which describes Jove space in its modern state, and whatnot. And these are things that they could still play in on, but yeah, I don't want people to get too excited about the Prophecy trailer. C.P. Rotati has been repeating one universe, one more recently, especially as he's now heading Vanguard and Eve both. Yeah. Well, I mean, C.P. Rotati was always part of that whole thing, because like C.P. Rotati was was the lead developer for Dust, or lead designer, or whatever. The thing that pisses me off the most about Valkyrie was that they didn't advertise at all or get it out there at all, that they made it no longer necessary to be VR. I've talked about this at length many, many times. It's the biggest frustration I've ever had with CCP. All right. Monthly Economic Report, August 2024. Here we go. Let me actually close some of these tabs now. And come down here, because I forgot to open up the other monthly economic reports. We like to grab the previous two to refer. Let's get going. So, hold on, let me rearrange my windows a little bit so that way I can see this easier. Okay. So, first things first, August. So this is May, June, July, August. So there's 3 more months in this area. So this shows that the summer showed a pretty continuous slump down in production overall. After a rise through 2003 and 2004, it tops off at the beginning of 2004 and begins to fall off around May. In addition to that, we can see that really since 2001, we see a general trend downward towards nullsec having the predominant production. which makes sense. I would have actually, well, yeah, because it was deeper before in 2019, and then it lost a chunk of its market share when everybody stopped building capitals during scarcity, and now it's recovering. Key economic figures. Oop. Let's see. Pochfin, 3 trillion. Destruction. Previous month, 2.5. And 3.6. So it's, yeah, it's on track. It's about normal. Okay, Tricola. September 2020 was redistribution. Yeah. So asteroid mining over time, we can see that while there was a dip in July, that mostly came from nullsec, and that is probably from, so this lull is that period of transition. When was... When was Equinox released? Wait, no, yeah, that's right. It was the 27th, right? Because they had to delay the changeover. Yeah, Equinox update was basically July. Okay. So to that end, that makes a lot of sense. It also shows that, like, it seems like the mining has at least recovered since the Equinox update for nullsec. Asteroids mined per region. We have Veil of the Silent, where before we had Delve with Veil. Delve and Veil like to go back and forth for top. Delve. We have Delve at almost 6, then at 3.5, and now Delve is actually way down here at less than 2.5, with Veil at 4, which means Veil mined more asteroid ore than Delve did even last month. Which, of course, Veil is Fraternity, I believe, and, of course, Delve is Goonswarm. The most noble CSM backseat design of an expansion ever. You mean kind of like how they got bubbles removed from Zarzak? Gas mined over time. So we see low set gas die off in June. That makes a lot of sense. So this happened because of those net resonators that we were talking about, right? The net resonators have made it so that low set gas is just not valuable anymore. Combine that with giving them other things to do and general lull of summer, we see a drop off of especially low set gas. Gas mined by region, Iridia, number 1. Iridia, number 1. Iridia, I didn't expect that to change. Ice volume mined over time. Once again, we see a dip right before August, but it kind of recovers back to normal. pretty flat. Ice. It's hard for there to be more or less ice mined. Kind of by gas, you said? No, actually quite the opposite. The problem is that all of those the net resonators replaced the thing that required that gas. So it suddenly went from that gas being required for all faction ships to that gas being required for all pirate faction ships to now only be required for capitals. Moon ore mined over time. Moon ore is a little bit low. It could, especially in nullsec. I wonder if this is because a lot more of that we see like the ore mined goes up, asteroid ore goes up. So I wonder if this represents less people mining their moons and more people mining the new anomalies. Especially after August starts and we see them add the newer anomalies. Metanox drills are also getting moons. Yeah, but that doesn't count on this, right? I don't think metanoxes are visible on this chart, because they don't drill ore, they provide minerals. That's actually a good question. I don't have an affiliate code, sorry. I appreciate the thought though. I've seen a lot of metanoxes in my escapades. Okay, so as far as imports and exports, that's true. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like if they switch moon mining over to metanoxes, then that could theoretically be shown as just less moon mining because they're not actually mining the moon. They're just using the metanox, but I'm not 100% sure if that's how it works. Anything big and interesting that we can pull out of this? Not really. Whoops. All right. ISK sinks and faucets. We have 43 trillion in bounties. Down from 44 trillion. So it's interesting because, new sites, new stuff, but we're seeing lower numbers. 43% in bounty, 43 billion in bounties. But the other thing is main bank auto payments. Third line, 23 versus 23.9. Okay. So while the number of overall bounties went down by 1 trillion, about 1 trillion, we actually see an increase in auto bank payouts. Yeah, I have a video from a couple weeks ago where I go over like beat for beat everything that went wrong with Equinox. Okay, so that's interesting because it implies that there's less ratting overall, but possibly more of that ratting is done in nullsec. Triglavian invasions are down. And Sanchas are up? Yeah, Sanchas are way up. That's likely just a rotational thing. Well, I mean, yes, it could mean that there's less robbings, therefore there's more payouts from the main bank auto payment. That is also a possibility. That's actually an interesting idea. I wonder if that's because some of the people who would go and do bank robbery are instead trying to raid skyhooks. That could explain it, potentially. Project Discovery is at 888 billion, down from 895, but about what it usually is. And LP Store, 15.3. So LP Store is down. So, and you know, we did see that there is overall a downward trend right now. It is summer, so it makes sense. I mean, we see that there's a pretty big drop in mining and in production in the month of in the last 2 or 3 months. So you could say that these are just reflecting on those. Yeah. Top 8 sinks and faucets over time. We don't actually see a big shift in this because we haven't had any real events. We do see this drop off in commodity market right at the time that bounties start to kind of go up a little bit. This could be, I mean, like, commodity market is mostly based on like events and other stuff like that. So, kind of makes sense that with such a long, you can see all these spikes. These spikes on the commodity market are events going on. So we do see that there has been kind of a trend towards traditional ratting as opposed to blue loot or events and stuff. The total ISK did a dip, but then has started to recover. I wonder if that's just, I always wonder about these, like these big dips, because of the fact that the money supply is active characters. So a dip like this could actually just represent just like basically a bunch of people who joined the game here, came in, logged in for 1 day or whatever. They're now considered active, a character. Their ISK joins into the pool. And then 30 days later, because they haven't logged in again, they're now flagged as inactive. And so their ISK is taken out of the pool of calculation. And so we see this big drop. This is liquid ISK. Yes. Corporations continue to slowly trend upwards. Like I said, the corporation chart, or the character chart, is much more volatile because it is reflectant on players being considered active or not. Velocity of ISK has definitely stabilized from its kind of sink over the course of 2018 to 2022. It remains steady. This represents the amount of times that any individual ISK is traded. So more trades means more velocity of ISK. I don't know what else to tell you. It's pretty stable right now. Mineral price index remains at a pretty significant high. SSPI is also at a pretty significant high, which is a secondary producer. Primary producer is pretty much on level after a drop off, and CPI is incredibly consistent. That's a consumer price index. Anything noteworthy here? Tech 1 ships? Is that right? Is that what that line represents? Hold on. Yep. No, Tech 1 modules. Tech 1 ships are right above it. So Tech 1 modules have been getting a hit recently. Who cares? Not very many significant changes worth noting. Low-end minerals and high-end minerals are both up. Raw moon materials is down. Advanced moon materials is down. Asteroids are up. Salvage materials are up after being down for a little while. So probably not even recovered. Planetary advanced commodities are up. Accessories. Accessories involves Plex stuff, if I remember correctly. So yeah, big drop off. Let me log out of Ash really quick and hop in Jita Alt. Doesn't CPI reflect NPC buy orders? Only if they're sold to it. Yeah, very much business as usual. That's true. I don't know, man. It looks like Plex is still pretty high. Oh. Didn't they just do a sale on something? Manufacturing research? Personalization? No. Manufacturing research? No. Pilot services? AT Plex sub deal? But wasn't there something involving like skill injectors? Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. That was the platinum pack sale? Fair enough. I was just trying to figure out like it seems like every time we go through the MER, we always have this like we have to figure out what accessories are. All right. Ship and module price indices. So we can see that modules actually spiked up in January. That was around, like, there's a pretty significant war then, I think. They introduced fishing in No Man's Sky. What is with this fishing thing? Why is everybody doing fishing now? Wormhole trade summary. We've been looking at this a couple of months. Looks, I mean, there's so much of August's report that is just business as usual, right? I mean, that has to be, I mean, that's my main takeaway from this entire report this month is business as usual. If anything, we see some evidence of the lackluster response to Equinox, right? I think that's probably about the fairest thing that we can assess from this. Business as usual, somewhat the summer slump, but certainly we are not seeing any symptoms of like Equinox being some sort of runaway success secretly or something. So, yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Oh, yeah. They made it so that now we can finally share saved designs. I'm Pretty happy about that with skins. The CSM 19 has started. CSM is the Council of Stellar Management. We vote every year for representatives to the to be on the CSM. They sign NDAs and are flown out to Iceland at least once a year in order to have a giant meeting with them. But they're also they are talking to CCP pretty much nonstop. You know, the CSM have a lot of pull, and who gets on the CSM is really important. And you know, especially this year where there's been some pretty controversial decisions that have been applied or that have been, I guess, the CSM have gotten credit for. But so from the 17th of September to the 1st of October is the candidate submission phase. The 4th of October is when all of the official candidates are announced. Then there is a 10-day campaign period, followed by a 7-day voting period, and that's it. So historically, I have done a lot of CSM interviews. This is a very short chunk of time, so I'm probably not going to try to interview everybody. But I will say this: if you are interested in running for the CSM, I'm happy to sit down with you and give you your interview and put it up on my YouTube and show it off on the live streams or whatever. Dutch Gunner for CSM, absolutely. Dutch Gunner has already announced that he's running. I'm very happy about it. So, yeah, very important, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this in the future. Your account must be older than 60 days. You can be an alpha. You must have no violations of the EULA or TOS. Apply early, and then there's a confirmation. There is something to make sure, there's always this thing where people start announcing that they're running, and then some of them don't end up being qualified or don't submit their paperwork correctly or anything like that. So, you know, something to pay attention to. If you're interested, you should check it out. Otherwise, like I said, we'll be covering it as it continues to unfold. There is a sale. Is it still going on? It is. So it's Caldari Union Day. The Caldaris, their celebration of their emancipation from the Galente, I guess you could say. But as part of it, there is a pack which comes with these new colors and patterns. It's worth noting that the Mountain Wind Spirit pattern was available on Twitch. You got a single one for watching Twitch. You might still be able to get it. So that means that you might want to check to see whether or not you can get these things on the market for cheaper if you need to. And then also, some of these are also kind of close to other already existing ones. Let's see. Let's do it on, let's call it an executor. Patterns. We have, that's the Republic. Wind Spirit. And it can be rotated. That does look kind of, I think you could probably do some pretty interesting stuff with this if you really mirror. Yeah, it does have a lot of potential. Like I said, everybody that watched Twitch got one of these for free. You only need one of the patterns, which is nice. Now, as far as the other colors go, We have that Silver Honor. Is that it? Silver Honor. Oh, I see. So it's got that slightly blue. Hold on a second. Let's try this again, actually. Perfect. And we're going to turn everything black. So that way we can just see the metallics. Wow, that actually looks pretty cool. But, you know, we can see like... And the silver has a slightly blue tint to it, as opposed to that, which is much whiter. That is like a pure silver. So there's that one and that one. So ready? What is this one? Rarity advanced. Polished iron. Buy more. Oh, fine. Yeah. So 25 plex or... Really? Whatever. 25 plex. 25 plex for this one. $50 for this one. I mean, obviously you get more than just that one, but... Or actually, I guess free if you get it. Or no, because the silver is not that. All right. And then state concrete. How am I going to find it? Oh my God. Maybe it's going to be like a bluish one. I got to say, I'm glad that I can look at things that I don't already own. It is a step in the right direction. But golly. Is it matte? No. Okay, this is all. Oh my God. Whatever. I'm not going to... It's a satin? No, because it says satin on the end of all of them. Hold on. No. Okay, so it's like a white. This is so dumb. Ah, state concrete gloss. Boom. So white. Just white, right? Oh my God. Wait. Okay, guys. Guys, be very careful. You gotta pay close attention. Ready? This one is free. Well, you have to use Plex to use it, but you have it unlimited. This one is the state concrete. Ready? One more time. State concrete. Unlimited white. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. No wonder they didn't want to show us them first. True Blue Loyalty. There's Matt. You said they also have it in satin? I don't see it. I will say that this does look good. Like, I like this color of blue. But, I mean... This is the weird thing about having colors be like this, because, like, what is, like... Ay, ay, ay. Actually, at least this one doesn't have such an easy replacement. At least I can tell the difference between these images, as opposed to the white ones. I'm satisfied I could counterfeit Rata Sunset. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I continue to be somewhat disappointed by what they're doing with the Capsuleer Day, or like the Empire holiday events and the sales. It is worth noting that they are putting out the stuff on the, like I said, on Twitch. So make sure to be checking out those. These things are worth 15 million ISK each for the pattern. Whereas the color is still 15 million. So the fact that, okay. I guess because the pattern is both more in demand and also more of them are seeded. Now put them in a different lighting and they all look indistinguishable. Yeah, it is true that the difference in those two tints are like basically the difference of what the stars like lighting effect will do. Well, yes and no. I mean, it's Jeremy, they're seeding it into the system, right? Everything gets in somehow. Like, for instance, every Upwell tractor beam came from the previous event where we turned in stuff to get the Upwell tractor beams. In theory, there will one day be no more Upwell tractor beams, but probably they're going to be safe for a while. Now, the colors are going to get burned through. That's true. But the Empire's birthdays are an annual thing, so they could just resell them next year. Or they could just reintroduce them later when they want to, as a different way of getting them. So, yeah. That is definitely not the part of it that makes me the most grumpy about it. That's for sure. All right, guys. I think we should probably be winding down, but let me double check to make sure. There's so much stuff to talk about today. I think we did. We got over it. I think we might have went through everything. I'm going to close with just a little bit of a thought, which is that for those of you who are doing, and I'm going to be talking about this in future videos too, but not your air career program. So everybody has the same opportunities every day. Here's a little pro tip. Where are they? There they are. So 50 LP for any corporation, destroy 25 non-capsuleers, manufacture an items, scan 5 signatures. The thing is that you see a lot of duplicates here. Like if I scan 5 signatures, I'm just done for the day. Now, the cool thing about this is that quite often, this one, manufacture an item, is on there more than once. In fact, my buddy, Thranz, got his entire Air Daily goals done on all of his characters last month by only doing manufacturing jobs. So the secret here is you pay attention to this every day. And you see when there's 2 manufacturing jobs up available in the daily goals. And then you make like a single Scourge rocket. And poof, you're done. You're done for the day. No more worrying about daily tasks. On a day like today, I would consider running a Plex or a level 1 mission. Another big one is if you are a nullsec and you got a buddy who's in highsec, they can run a mission and you can be in the same party with them or the same fleet as them. And you'll get some LP too. And that'll complete your task. Excuse me. In addition to that, do make sure to log in to the New Eden store every week to get your free 1,500 skill points for 0 Plex. That's about it. Anything else that we need to cover from the summer or likewise? Otherwise, I should be back tomorrow. Knock on wood. All hopes. Oh, there's also a big bug going on right now where it seems like insurgencies are not getting the effect of their stuff. So you can't deploy bubbles in fully corrupted systems, and the other effects, including the sites that are supposed to spawn, are not seeming to be. I don't know if that's old news at this point or not, but just keep that in mind. There is a bug involving the insurgencies at the moment, in theory. Let's see. Anybody want to throw out there what we should talk about tomorrow? Anybody have any ideas? If not, you can always message me on Discord. You can come and join us in the Convocation Appearance and help maximize player engagement with EVE Online. Come fly with me and help my buddies. Yeah, you missed the whole thing, Bourbon. Sounds like an upgrade to the insurgency system. That's funny. Oh, my bot isn't working. Somebody, hold on. What am I looking for? Oh, yeah. Streamlabs? Is that what it's called? Yes. Wow. It's been a while. Got a kill right against me in a fully corrupted highsec for aggressing someone, so I ain't touching that content soon. Yikes. That sucks. Yeah, that's not cool. I'd almost file a ticket, see if you can get that fixed. 40 people needs to like the stream. More than 40 people. No. Excuse me. All right. There we go. That link now. I mentioned it earlier. It didn't work. That link that will be posted hopefully in a few seconds. There it is. Use that to go join in our Discord. You can also flag yourself as interested in YouTube to get in the media channel to get all of my videos when they're released. It's the best way to get notified. In addition to that, if you want to join us and help maximize player engagement with EVE Online, please, we are looking for more members. If you have never received your 1,000,000 free skill points, please use the link down below or in the chat coming up, and that will send you to one of the people that support the stream or the convocation and everything that it does, and you will get 1,000,000 free skill points, and they get cool goodies too, and it helps support the channel. I really appreciate it. In addition to that, you know, you can always pick up some merch. I got my Mauro t-shirt. We've got the invited mug, and there's other mugs, or there's other t-shirts and such on the store. So, yeah. But, of course, the best thing you can do to help out the stream and the channel And my mission to help educate and increase the literacy of EVE Online is, of course, like the stream and share this with someone who you think might be interested in this kind of content, digging deep into EVE Online, its lore, its history, its mechanics. It's a very interesting game. There's a lot to learn about ourselves by playing the game. That's actually one of the things I want to talk about more in the future, is how EVE, the talents that the skills that you have to develop in EVE are real life skills, not video game skills, which is kind of nice. But I think that EVE is important, and I think that literacy in EVE, overall knowledge of the player base, makes a better EVE, because it's a sandbox. It's only as good as the players are. So building a more informed, knowledgeable, competent player base is, of course, the goal of the channel. If you want to support that, like I said, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. It does mean quite a bit, especially when I'm coming back off of a lapse. You also might want to go back and check out some of my old videos. It was pointed out to me that now I have over 700 videos on this YouTube, including lore about the Triglavian Collective and other empires, mechanics, a fitting master guide. I have a playlist that's just to training videos with everything around how to use DScan, how to make, how to use bookmarks, how to manage your assets, everything you could possibly think of, plus news, information, and interviews, all available on my channel. So make sure to subscribe so that way you don't miss anything. Until next time, I have been Ash Rothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you especially to Tranquilla and Bash for your direct support, as well as, oh no, oh, it scrolled past. As well as Stoic Protector, right. Thank you so much to all of you for your support. Till next time, I've been Ash Rothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. I said until next time like multiple times. I do that like every time. It sucks. I should definitely get better at my own ending. Bye! Like the stream for the giddies!
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city